of Ghana Christian International High School, and we urge you all to subscribe to HisGov TV. Thank you.
Hello there, you are welcome to HisGov TV. Before we begin with our discussion today, I would like to remind you to subscribe to the channel in case you have not done so. This is the only platform or channel where you get access to content based on the WASI history, based on the WASI syllables. So you can get subjects like history, CRS, government. We are also going to add social studies, and then as time goes on, we will also bring in the sciences also on board. And then also we visit tourist sites. Again, we visit historical sites as well. And so very soon you'll be seeing us visiting or bringing you contents from the field, from historical sites that support our learning in the classroom. And so basically that is what this channel is about, HisGov TV. So please kindly subscribe if you like our contents. So in today's lesson, we are going to look at the formation of the United Gold Coast Convention, the UGCC. We are still on the nationalist activities. You recall in our previous video, we have done videos on the nationalist activities before the First World War, and that we termed as the proto-nationalist period, whereby the nationalist movement formed at this time were not demanding for a total end to colonial rule, but they were demanding for the trimming of the edges, so that the educated elite could participate. And so we saw that some of the nationalist movements that were formed during those times were the Aborigines Rights Protection Society, the Gold Coast Youth Movement, the NCBWA, the National Congress of British West Africa, and some other proto-nationalists who were demanding not an end to colonial rule, but to the trimming of the colonial edges to allow the educated elite to participate in politics. But we also have learned that after the Second World War, it came with it, changes. The World War came with it certain political changes that influenced the people living in the Gold Coast to rethink and also demand for self-rule. And if in case you did not watch these two videos, I would add the link in the description. Again, you might see something over here at the top, at the right hand side of your computer or of your phone. You can tap on it and you can watch the video straight away from there. I'll put a video card of that video over there. So be checking on the top side, both left and right, and then you'll find those videos to watch. So this is a direct continuation of the grievances of Ghanaians after the Second World War. And we established in that lesson that after the Second World War, there were some dramatic changes that occurred after the war, and those changes were also responded to by the formation of the first Nationalist Party from 1945 after the Second World War to 1957. We also established in our previous lessons that there were two types of nationalism in the Gold Coast at this period. The first one we said was the proto-nationalist period, whereby, as I have indicated earlier, the nationalist movement formed at that time were only demanding for trimming of the colonial edges. However, from 1945 to 1957, after the Second World War, because the World War came with certain changes, the nationalist movement that were formed at this period were not only demanding for the trimming of colonial edges, but they were also demanding an end to colonial rule. All right, and the first of these national movements that were formed, the radical national movements demanding for an end to colonial rule, was the United Gold Coast Convention's party that we are going to look at today. And so today specifically, we will look at the first subtopic. We will look at the reasons for the formation of the UGCC. What were the reasons for the formation of the UGCC? We will look at that. Then we also look at the aims of the UGCC. And then in our subsequent or next video, we shall look at the achievements and the failures of the UGCC. So today, let's just learn these two subtopics. Good. So let's begin with our lesson objectives for today. So our lesson objectives for today is simple, but by the end of this lesson, the people will be able to state the members of the UGCC or the UGCC party. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to state some of the members that came together to form the UGCC party. And again, explain some of the reasons for the formation of the UGCC party. So you should be able to explain some of the reasons that accounted for the formation of the UGCC party by the end of our discussion today. Then the last lesson for today is that you should be able to outline the aims, okay, the aims of the UGCC. What did the UGCC seek to achieve? What was the aim of the UGCC? So you should be able to also state or outline some of these aims as we move on in our discussions today. So I would urge you to get a pen and paper and then begin to learn. So let's begin with the introduction of our topic. So as a result of the grievances of Ghanaians after the Second World War, the UGCC was formed. And as I indicated earlier, in case you have not watched the video of the grievances of Ghanaians after the Second World War, please kindly click on the link at the top right-hand side corner, and you get access to that video and other videos that may help you to understand this topic as well. So because of those grievances, that came up, some Ghanaians decided to actually come together and end colonial rule in itself. Okay, good. Now, so the UGCC then became the first political party formed in Ghana or in the country. All right, the first political party formed in Ghana was the UGCC party. Now, the UGCC party was different from the other early nationalist activities that had been formed, like the ARPS, the Aborigines Rights Protection Society, the Youth Movement and Co., the NLM, the Youth Movement, the NCBWA and Co. You see, the difference was that the UGCC brought all Ghanaians together against colonial rule. The proto-nationalist movement that we looked at, the NCBWA and Co., they were all seeking for just a section of the country. The Aborigines Rights Protection Society, for instance, did not seek for a broader support from the general public. They were only interested in lands around the Gold Coast. But the UGCC was the first political party that brought all Ghanaians together against colonial rule. And we said that the UGCC was different from the other nationalist movement, such as the Aborigines Rights Protection Society and the Youth Movement. And that is what I have explained, that unlike the Aborigines Rights Protection Society and the Youth Movement formed during the proto-nationalist movement, the UGCC focused on uniting the whole country, bringing both the Gold Coast, Asante, as well as the Northern Territories together, trying to establish offices, party offices in all these territories. The Aborigines Rights Protection Society was only concerned about the counseling or the Gold Coast. Okay, they were only concerned about the Gold Coast because they just wanted the land bill to be abolished by the British when they introduced the land bill of 1897 or so. So the Aborigines Rights Protection Society were only interested in the Gold Coast. And so their activities did not extend above the Gold Coast. However, the UGCC, we are saying, was the first political party because their activity extended beyond the boundaries of the Gold Coast into the Asante and even into the Northern Territories. And so it becomes the first political party to be formed in the country, and also the first radical nationalist movement to be formed in the country. So let's look at more. Now, the leading members were senior lawyers and also highly educated persons or big men. Okay, so that was the members of the UGCC. They were made up of senior lawyers as well as educated persons and also big businessmen. Okay, good. Now, some of the top officials of the UGCC were George Alfred Grant. He was the chairman. So this is him over here. Alfred Grant is the one over here. And then J.B. Dankwa as well as R.S. Blay became they became vice chairman. So this is J.B. Dankwa. I don't have the image of R.S. Blay over here. So this is J.B. Dankwa. He was a lawyer as well. And then R.A. Awono Williams also became the treasurer. I don't have R.S. I don't have R.A. Awono's picture also there. Other leading members of the party was Edward Akufo-Addo, J.W.D. Edgar Johnson, Obechebi Lamte. So this is Obechebi Lamte over here. We have Kwabena Kesi. We have Akweje, and this is the Akweje. We see him over here, and all these were lawyers. All right. Then we also had Oforiata. Okay, we had Oforiata, a graduate teacher, and also John W. Tebo, who was also a proprietor of a newspaper, the Ashanti Pioneer. Bear in mind that the UGCC was formed on August 1947. Okay, so that was the time that the UGCC was formed, August 1947. That was the year in which the UGCC was formed. So these were the members, or some members, of the UGCC party, and I couldn't have an image of all of them. But then if you are asked to state some of the members of the UGCC, I am pretty sure that you will not disappoint us, but you will be able to write some of the members of the UGCC. Good. So now that we know some of the members or the founding fathers of the UGCC, let's take a look at some of the reasons for the formation of the UGCC party. So one of the reasons that led to the formation of the UGCC party was the alienation of the educated elite. And if you could recall in our lessons or videos about the constitutional developments in the Gold Coast, you saw that the educated elite, times without numbers, were arguing that they were alienated from colonial administration. And so very often they will agitate and protest against the inclusion of the chiefs on the legislative council as opposed to the educated elite. And one thing you should know is that now in the 1946 Alambans Constitution, it gave only 5 seats to the educated elite, okay, or the educated nationalists, while the chiefs, who some of them were illiterate, were given 13 seats. And so the educated elite felt cheated by the 1946 Constitution, in the sense that they felt that they were qualified to represent the people instead of the instead of the chiefs, who were not qualified to represent the people, because they felt that they had the education, and so they were supposed to represent their people instead of the chiefs. But we should also not forget that the British were doing this because of the indirect rule policy, which again we have also done indirect rule policy. The chiefs, the British were ruling the local people through the chiefs, and so since they were using the indirect rule policy, which then means that they would certainly appoint more chiefs than the educated elite. But hey, one of the reasons for the formation of the UGCC was that the educated elite felt cheated. They felt that the chiefs had no place in politics, and so they came together to form a party to protest against that. And I don't know what you think about that, especially when Castle Hayford said that by their education, they were qualified to rule or to lead the people. I don't know what you make of that assertion. But hey, that is what they argued about. And so they came together to form the party to protest for their inclusion and total end to colonialism. Now, again, there was trade monopolization by the British firms. You see, some of the reasons for the formation of the UGCC was some of the members of the UGCC were businessmen and co. So you would ask, what did a businessman wanted to do with a political party, because all the people in there were lawyers. Remember, Afram Grant was a timber a businessman or timber merchant, and he was even the financier of the UGCC. Pa Grant, he was the financier of the UGCC. It was his ideology that gave birth to the formation of the UGCC. It was his money. So the traders or the businessmen were also involved because they were not happy. The British had had placed trade restrictions on trade. So certain trading practices were only restricted to the Europeans. Again, the economy had also been monopolized by only European and Asian firms. And interestingly, forestry concessions were given to only, and even gold concessions were given only to European and Asian firms, disregarding the African businessmen. So the Pa Grant, being a timber operator or merchant, would certainly not have access to the purchasing of timber. And so the businessmen also had to be involved in the formation of this political party in order to stop all these practices. All right? And that is how come Pa Grant became part of the UGCC. They wanted to do away with all this trade monopolization. Again, there were also discrimination against the colonial administration. So discrimination in the sense that certain Ghanaians who were qualified to serve in the civil service were not appointed to serve. Priority were given to Europeans to serve in the British administration or colonial administration. Meanwhile, some of these Europeans were not even qualified for the jobs that they were given. But just the mere fact that they were Europeans, they were appointed to serve in the colonial administration. Whereas the Ghanaians who had been to school, been to university, who qualified to do this work were not allowed or were not employed by the British. The work that they did was only being laborers and cleaners and stuff like that, menial jobs, even though they had good education or qualification. And the last of the reasons for the formation of the UGCC was the grievance of the ex-servicemen. Okay, the grievances of the ex-servicemen. Now, these ex-servicemen were the soldiers who went to war on the side of the British in the Second World War. So they were taken from Ghana. Some of them were taken to India to fight on behalf of the British. Now, on their recruitment or during their recruitment stage, they were promised beautiful packages that if you win the war and return, some of them were going to be given employment, some of them were going to be given wives, some of them were going to be given houses and even jobs to do. But upon their return, all these promises were not fulfilled by the Europeans. And so what then came was that they became dissatisfied and they went on to protest or to demand for the promises. And on their way to the Christianborg Castle, some of them were shot, and it caused or it brought a whole lot of chaotic scenes in the country. And so that is how the plight of the ex-servicemen also fueled the formation of the UGCC. Good. Let's take a look at the aims of the UGCC. So what did the UGCC seek to achieve for the country? So one, the party's aim was to ensure that by all legitimate and constitutional means, the direction and control of government should pass into the hands of the people and their chiefs in the shortest possible time. So this is where people say independence in the shortest possible time. So they demanded that by all legitimate and constitutional means, the direction of the country should be passed on to the people, into the hands of the people, and into the hands these people, they are referring to themselves, that they were ready to man the country. So independence within the shortest possible time. And this shortest possible time will come with it a whole lot of issues. Again, to ensure that persons elected to represent the people and their natural rulers, that's traditional rulers, on the legitimate council, be elected by reason of their competence and not otherwise. So they also aimed to ensure that the people who were represented, who were elected, or who were appointed to serve on the executive and the legislative council were elected based on their competency and not because they were chiefs, as it was done in previous terms. All right? Good. And also to protest against the 1946 Ban's constitution, which gave a limited number of seats to the educated elite. And so we also recall that only 5 seats were reserved for the educated elite, as opposed 13 seats reserved for the educated elite. And so they wanted to oppose that. And in that sense, a new constitution was drawn in 1951 to reflect the aspirations of these people. And also to serve as a political platform for Africans to express their grievances, okay, where Africans could criticize the colonial government and also express their grievances. Good. So in today's lesson, we have learned a lot. We've learned about the members of the UGCC. We've learned about the reasons for the formation. Then we've also learned about the aims of the UGCC. Now, regarding the members of the UGCC, I did not mention, or you didn't see Nkrumah's name there. Now, the reason why you did not see Nkrumah's name there was that Nkrumah was not a founding member. All right? Nkrumah was not a founding member. He was recommended by Akweje, and so it was Akweje who recommended Nkrumah when the UGCC needed a secretary, and so they called him to come. And according to the narratives, Nkrumah was actually his fare from even London to the Gold Coast was paid for by Alfred Grant, Park Grant, okay, who was a timber merchant in Takoradi. And you know, when Nkrumah came, he really came with certain energy, and which came to propel the UGCC to fame. But at the long run, Nkrumah decided to do away with the UGCC. But we will come to that more in our subsequent videos. Good. So that is all that I have for you today. Have a nice day.
It's Got TV, first of all equals. Bye.